And waiting for StreamYard to go live. And we are live.
Yay.
All right.
So, Kathy, do you want to start? You want me to start?
Yeah, I'll just say this is Kathy from Circles of Wisdom, and welcome everybody. And I know there's more people getting on, but I just wanted to say we're really excited for Joan to come in person in March. So she's coming out from California, and I think we're the first Northeast stop on the book tour. I think
For sure.
you've been in the South. And, I just love how dedicated Joan is to her work with animals and her communication with All Life University, and especially like working with shelter animals. And I thought tonight we could learn more about her and the visit, and also maybe hear some stories of the amazing journeys she does, which I love to see the pictures of, like to see the elephants and lions and all kinds of amazing trips, and how that supports the tourism, helps support the care for these animals too. So I'm just recovering from a cold. So Ginger's going to be doing the moderating and asking the questions. And she's wonderful and perfect person because she does animal communication as well.
Mm-hmm.
And she studied with Joan and other teachers, and she does private sessions and also a monthly practice group at Circles. So she'll be handling all the questions. You guys can type questions in the chat, and but we'll let them get started. Thanks so much, you guys.
Well, thank you. And I am thrilled to have Joan here. Very excited. Excuse me. As Kathy mentioned, I do animal communication, and I met Joan through Circles of Wisdom a few years ago when she came out after a long hiatus, right? Because you used to come out and then COVID hit.
And then
So,
COVID.
yeah, there was a whole period of time. And I ended up working with Joan or learning, studying with Joan in her energy program for healing for animals, which I loved. And I have incorporated what I learned into my own practice, and it's been really, really helpful. So Joan's a great speaker and a wonderful teacher. And again, we're really thrilled to have her here. As Kathy mentioned, she will be coming to our area in Massachusetts at Circles of Wisdom for a weekend. So it'll be March 12th through the 15th. You can find all the information on the Circles website. We'll hit on it briefly, but she will be here. And so tonight really is a kind of a Q&A, kind of getting to know for those people who don't know Joan, and I'm not sure there are many that don't know you, Joan, but for those that don't, I'm sure we have a lot of questions on your journey. And very excited to hear about your latest book. I brought, oop,
Oh, I
my
love
book
that.
of Joan. Joan is a accomplished, a published writer, author, and has the Animal Communication and Energy Healing School, and has been on lots of national programs, right? GMA. You've been in the LA Times. I think you've done TED Talks, all kinds of things, and one of the biggest reasons I think I was drawn to work with Joan was not just the animal communication, and I don't mean just the animal communication, but the belief that although animals we may believe come in and they love us and unconditional whatever, but a lot of times they need work and they need help as well. And Joan really has dedicated decades to working with people and their animals, as Kathy mentioned, with sanctuaries, right, with shelter animals. And I just think the timing is perfect where we are with everything, for all of the people that, are joining us now and hopefully will join Joan, whether it's in your little ranchette, and I shouldn't say little, your ranchette in California, which I was lucky enough to go out and visit Joan in one of her classes, or online with Circles of Wisdom or in person with Circles of Wisdom. So welcome, Joan.
Thank you.
So I wanted to start with for those that maybe don't know your background, could you just tell us like how did you get into we all I'm sure every single person on this call will say the same thing that I hear from people as well. I've always loved animals. I've always had a connection with animals. But when did it really start to jive with you? Can you just give us some background on how you kind of got there?
Well, apparently I didn't say mom or dad as my first word. My first word was horse. So that kind of tells you just how obsessed I was as a kid with horses. And my mom used to have to drive the long way places so I could see horses. We had a dog growing up. We had a dog that I dressed and put in a buggy and ate her food, which she didn't like. And I'm a vegan now, so that just tells you where that went. So anyway, yeah, we had a little dog, and but horses were really my thing. And at the age of 7, I won my first horse in a raffle, and it went from there. My parents didn't keep that horse. I got to keep him for 6 months with the promise that I would get another horse, thinking I'd forget, which of course I didn't. I joined a 4-H club. I volunteered at a breeding farm, which was really like I learned too much too quickly about. That was to talk about sex education. Anyway, I so that was it for me. Um, until of course, the years that you find boys and all that. But I went straight back to horses once I realized this is a better gig. Anyway, I guess in the mid 80s, I was living in New York. I have a degree in theater, and my sister died. And in some ways it doesn't seem related, but it really is. It cracked me open. I was a couple of years older than her, and it cracked me open into energy healing and, a lot of grief therapy and stuff like that. But energy became something I was very curious about. And so I'd left New York and went to Seattle to help my family while she was sick, and then she died. And I had really thought she was going to live. I had really like gone. NYU had a little teeny alternative library at the time, alternative medicine library, and I was looking at visualization. And this was in 1996. I think Shakti Gawain's book was one of the first books out on visualization. And so I got, so parallel to being a horse freak. And I might mention I did have then I did end up with a few horses in my parents got stuck sticking to their word, and I rode through college also. But anyway, parallel to my love for animals and my acting became a love for alternative healing, for all things healing. And even though my sister died, I didn't lose faith in those modalities. I just she had glioblastoma. It was early on. Before now they have a lot more that they can do for it, but it's still a pretty grim end. But I never lost faith in what was possible, and I don't know why, but I was just, so I ended up moving to LA instead of back to New York, and I got a horse. That was how I ended up taking care of myself. I went through grief therapy and had my little artsy world, but I got this horse, and I would say that she was really my spiritual soulmate. And she was, she really forced me into learning how to be present, because if my mind wandered thinking about an audition or something, she'd just give a little buck. So I had to learn quickly how to stay present. And I was reading all these, all the great things about being present, and you know s- uh, uh, all the books that are sold at the Circles of Wisdom. I was completely like, those were my kind of books. So I was really in search of something. Meanwhile, we brought this animal communicator into the barn just for fun, and it was so much fun. And I thought, I want to do this. And she kept saying, well, you're already doing it. I thought, no, I don't want to sit and wait every day to hear if I got a call back for an audition. I went on, I want to do this. So um, I ended up taking some classes, and I had a whole series of events where it became so important that I was in it. I had bred my horse, and in 93 she gave birth, but she colicked the night that she gave birth, and I ended up with this orphan colt. And I was starting to do this work and starting to do energy healing, and the next thing you know, I really got thrown into it. I mean, thrown into it. And that was it. I've got a million funny stories about how I tried to still stay in the film business, but I was just ejected and welcomed into this other world. And I love, I mean, I don't look back. A lot of my friends are still actors, writers, producers, and I'm glad that I'm back in the LA area after getting married and moving to Denver and Florida and back to Seattle and found my way here again. So, and a lot of my original clients are here, so it's really fun. It's been a wild ride.
Well, let me ask you, if you, when you think about the way you grew up and the stories that you just told, how you managed that, from a spiritual perspective, were you in that headspace because you were reading all of those books? Do you think you were just open to it? Do you think it was early loss? Because a lot of people talk about that, how they came to be in the right place at the right time, inadvertently even. I don't know what happened. All of a sudden, the doors opened and whatnot.
Yeah, I think it was an early loss for sure. I also think um, it was always there. If you think about it, it was always there. There was always the chance. I had one of those horses that was like, and I actually believe that have her again. You met her, Anya. So I think that was the horse that I got at 10, that I had through college. And she was, you know, she was also, oh, I see we're turning around. Don't let me get in your way. Anyway, so there she is. Anyway, I had that horse as a kid that was always communicating with me. I was just probably really slow or dense or something, you
Well,
know.
let's go. Can you just talk just a minute about animal communication? Because people do get messages, right? They are communicating with the animals all the time. But when we think of, let's say, people that aren't in this work yet, we think we're going to be hearing a conversation or we're going to be
100%. Yeah.
whatever. And a lot of times it is just picking up whether it's the energy that they're giving off, or it could be a quick word, it could be a quick flash to somebody. Um, I think the animal communication is so broad, right? Because we're getting messages all the time. So
Absolutely.
not a question of being dense or whatever. It's just you were getting it, you were doing it, but not thinking in that
Yeah.
reading way.
No, and there wasn't. So I always say, because I have a big school for animal communication now, and I always say that if this had been in the college curriculum, I don't know that I would have gotten a degree in theater because I would have done this. Because, so animal communication in the telepathic form is the transference of pictures, words, and feelings, or sometimes just knowing. And in my case, I feel like early on I was a knower. Like my horse and I had no words. We never needed words. We were in a zone 95% of the time. That 5% she would do things like we were in the warm-up ring of the jumpers and she just jumped right out of the arena and thought she was hilarious. And so I get disqualified. But the judge let me come back in and jump the course. But she had my number.
Yeah.
So there were those things all the time, but there was also just such a deep connection that I didn't need words. And then I had that again with Pet One. And I really have it with all my horses and all my dogs and all my cats. And that's how I know they're family members. So I feel like there's, for what the other thing I would say about what is communication, it's also a resonance where you don't need words, where you're living in a zone. And so it's very much, yeah, it's like that. So I was able early on to live in resonance, I think, with animals. I think that's what I was able to do because I was that kid that if your if you lived down the street and you were afraid to give your horse a shot and the vet said the horse needs a shot every day, I had no problem coming, calming the horse down, figuring out in the neck where the shot went, you know? So that was, yeah, that was me.
Yeah. And I'm sure that probably most of the people even on this call can think back, or even in their life now and say, oh, maybe I didn't recognize that I always had that, right?
Totally.
Yeah.
I always, I start out my first book, Communication with All Life, saying I was not one of those people that thought I was communicating. I mean, I just, you read all these other books and it's like, I was communicating with ducks when I was 3. Well, I was not, right? I
I
learned
know.
it.
Yes, I feel the exact same way, because I went in, I had a pet sitting business, and that's where I started to really notice it, because I just thought with my own animals, of course I would know. They're my animals,
Yeah.
you know. Well, so let's just talk a little bit about how you got from where we just left off to the school that you started, because the school's huge and
Yeah.
does many different things. You teach many different things, so.
Yeah. So somewhere in there, I was I was really lucky because I kept a true tunnel vision on like this is what I'm doing. So if you didn't believe in animal communication, you just sort of fell out of my periphery. Like you kind of didn't exist. And people like that don't exist. So I just kept marching forward and doing more and more things. And um and so ironically, I thought I wanted to have this huge healing center. That's what I thought I was here to do. And when I got divorced and I moved to Seattle to help my dad, I found a beautiful little property and I started the healing center. And I was having workshops there. And I realized, you know what? I don't, I've had this dream for like 8 years and now I don't want it. And I couldn't believe it. But one of my friends, I think you met Ellie at the Gentle Barn,
Yeah.
she always says that that dream must have been like the space holder for the school. So it was like I had this giant dream, but I had the wrong components.
Right.
But I met some great people. Like I brought in great holistic vets and chiropractors and massage therapists. But I just always I love still working with people. Like I don't think that being an animal communicator or a healer is being an island or being God. It's like you need other practitioners to really, especially when you have a big situation, you want a village. So I just have always walked around kind of creating a village, and the school is really a city at this point.
Yes, yeah,
And
it is. So
so
you started as animal communicator. Is that what the first like sort of program that you put together?
yeah, animal communication, but I threw in a little bit of healing. I threw in some healing, and then more and more, people wanted that. And they wanted the EFT, they wanted the scalar, they wanted all the things. So yeah, and then I developed quite a big portion for, so it's animal communication is the main thing, but energy healing is just right next to it. And then uh, animals in transition. So we have a whole program for people to go from like, I call it being a midwife to mediumship.
Mhm.
Um, And then we have an animal ambassador program, which is for people that want to work in shelters, sanctuaries, things like that. And we have a whole shelter project where we're introducing animal communication and EFT into the shelters and getting unadoptable animals adopted. And then I've got that into, so earlier I said if it had been in a college curriculum, I was able to get that little kind of section of the therapeutic riding center, which we've done there in Methuen. We did it at Strong. Kathy knows where we did it.
Ironstone, was
Strong
it?
Water Farm in Tewksbury.
Yep.
Strong.
Yeah. So we did do the animal communication, the EFT with those horses. So kind of my ambassador program, it took a while to form, but we were doing it in ways. So now it's also part of an animal behavior degree at Stevens College where I went to school. So that's a big deal. So it is now in a college curriculum.
Yeah, which is just awesome. Because, not only have you been able to help individual people, individual situations, animals and whatnot, because of the program and the programs that you've developed, there's many, many more practitioners, which is what we
But
need.
yeah, yeah.
And it's just a ripple. It's a ripple, and it's a great community. Like I said, I think earlier I did take Joan's energy healing program, and the people that you become friendly with and network with, all over the country, or actually all over the world, right?
Hmm.
Have been so helpful. It's a wonderful program. So right now, can you just explain what programs you have available, like what tracks kind of? Now you can go to Joan's website. Obviously, we won't spend a ton of time on this, but I mean, it's very well set up.
Thank you. We have the animal communication, and in that you learn animal communication, obviously, and then you learn a little bit about energy healing, but you also learn animal medical intuition, which I think is huge. And I don't know why more people aren't teaching that because that feeds right into often behavior. So then we have animal communication, behavior, relationship, and dynamics. And that way you bring in the animal communication, the medical intuition, and you have a pretty clear understanding of, this dog isn't eating because its tooth hurts. It's not some giant cancer. You know what I mean? Like or this dog is, this cat is reactive because it hit its head, or you know what I mean? Like there are a lot of things that go into why an animal is acting the way it is. And so the animal communication track really addresses that. And then the energy healing, we go into EFT, emotional freedom technique, and scalar waves. So we really have a technique for behavioral issues and a technique for health challenges and wellness, and they go well together.
Well, it all does. It all goes well together. When I saw you at Circles of Wisdom, when I saw that you're at, I actually had been doing readings there, that you were coming, and it was EFT. And I thought, oh, I didn't know that did EFT with animals. And so I signed up. It was just like 2 days later or whatever, and I was blown away. And that's why I ended up joining and going through your program. And I have since used it many, many times. And I know the people that I've worked with, I'm sure with you exponentially, when they learn how to tap, if they don't already know how to tap, they can do that for themselves as
It's
well.
empowering,
It's
yeah.
empowering, absolutely. Yeah, so you can take your go into your school, take your program. You can do the animal communication track. You can do an energy healing track. And you mentioned the other two, uh,
Animals in transition
animals
and
in
animal
transition. Yeah,
animal ambassador.
but if you wanted to do the whole program, you have a track to incorporate everything, correct?
Yeah,
Yeah. Yeah,
yeah.
it's awesome. I really, really suggest if people have not looked up on Joan's website that you do that. And as I mentioned earlier, you have published 4 books.
I
Okay.
actually have a little stepchild book out there that's an ebook that doesn't make it into stores yet, but I think I'm gonna get it. I'm gonna do a print run of it because it's a good book also. But yeah, the ones that I have a publisher for are there's 4.
So, and I have 3 of them here. I don't know where my other one went, but before I got on, I said, "Oh, I've got 3. I'll show them." Oh,
I love it.
So one question, I have a few questions and we can go whatever way people want to hear from you, but what is your belief on can anybody learn to communicate with animals?
Everyone is communicating with animals, whether they know it or not. It's then learning helps you refine the conversation, helps you have confidence. Because right now, a lot of times, the chaos in our households is, we are largely to blame because we miscommunicate. Now, I don't like to blame humans for, I hate that, but just the inability to know that we're sending mixed messages. Like someone said to me, um, I tell him with my eyes that I'll be back. And it's like, yeah, but you're also saying, I'll be back. I wonder if he got that message. Let
Right.
me try it again. I'll be back. Wait, did he get that one? Or what if I try it, right? Like you
Right.
spend,
And then they feel a little bit anxious. Then the
yeah.
animal's like, okay, I can feel some anxiety. What's
Yeah,
happening
well,
here?
okay, weirdo.
Yeah.
You do you.
Yes, I know. That is one thing that definitely does come up. And I love that you mentioned that you really need to practice, right? Not on necessarily your own animals. You certainly can. But if I have a problem with one of my animals, like a real health issue, I would go to somebody else to double check myself. And it's not that I don't trust myself. It's just that I know what I want for an outcome. And so I
Exactly.
might go to somebody else and ask. But the biggest thing I think that people don't recognize, whether it's mediumship or animal communication, energy work, you have to trust yourself. You have to trust in the process and trust that spirit is with you, right? Trust that you have that ability. And then if you can practice with somebody and get validation, and the validation isn't about being right, right? It's
Mm-mm.
not about doing things a certain way. It's about, okay, I'm sort of on the right track. When I feel this, it's usually that kind of a thing. It develops, right?
And yeah, and the practice in the beginning should be verifiable and it should be guided, right? Like
Mhm.
I know you teach, it's invaluable to have that guidance.
It is to know, am I getting the information in the way that I can share it, or I don't want to interpret it. I want to give,
Yeah,
this is what I see, this is what I heard, this is what I felt, kind of a thing. But everybody, and I say that I don't think I've ever taught anybody, and you may not have either, that can't do it because we are doing it.
right.
Yeah, yeah, it's awesome. So, um, what would you say is the most common reason why our animals are communicating with us? Like, what's the most that people might recognize?
I mean, I think the most obvious one is, when you think it's your idea to go out on a walk. They're sitting there with one ear up, like, when is she gonna get the picture? Grab the leash. Grab the leash. Right? I think
I
that's number
know,
one.
I know.
And then I think the other, I mean, so I think that they're constantly trying to remind us that, hey, I loved doing that. We could do that again. Um, so that's definitely something. And I think that when animals aren't feeling well and they try really hard to let us know, and then we miss it, and then they do something dramatic, and we go, oh,
Right, right.
uh, like especially being, I still my favorite word is horse.
It is
Um,
the year of the horse, right? We just started.
Yeah, we're in it
Yep,
today.
yep.
But with horses, I just sometimes I can't even believe how tolerant they are and what they, almost what what we burden them with unknowingly and how, then sometimes they have to do something extreme to let us know that they really can't do that.
Right,
And if we were listening all along, there were probably signs. I always say that also with reactive dogs, that in my new book, I talk about the fifth chakra as expression, but it's not always, barking or biting. It's all the other things, those 6 steps you missed before they finally have to bite.
right. I think, I mentioned that I was a pet sitter, and one of the funniest things, I had a friend who was pregnant, who it was her client, and she couldn't do the sit because she was pregnant, and she asked me to do it, and I did not know the dog. It was a lab. I did go over and meet really quickly, and so the night that I got there, they never left lights on for me, yada yada. And so all she said was, I left everything for you on the table. So I came in, I finally found the lights. He's barking like crazy, and I see nothing on the table. And I'm like, oh God. So I'm talking out loud to him, and I said, I don't know where your food is. And he goes over to this, it's a pickle barrel on the floor. And I go, oh. So I open it up, and there's a scoop. I go, all right, that's easy. I give him a scoop. And then he goes to the cabinet, and he's looking up, and he's barking, barking, barking. And I'm like, I don't know what you want. And I can see like there's something in the cabinet. I open the door, there's a packet of wet food, which I was supposed to put on top of the,
So good.
gave him that. Then he goes to the refrigerator and I'm like, buddy, I don't know. I opened up the refrigerator. So I said, look, let's find your leash. He goes into the doc family room and shows me on the ottoman where they tossed it. So I take him from the whole time I'm laughing. I take him back in and he's back at the refrigerator. So I open the door again. Then I open the freezer and there's those little dog ice cream things. And I said, okay, I took it off. And then as I'm leaving, I look in the dining room and that's where she left the note and all the instructions. And I read it. The food is in the pickle barrel next to the slider. He gets one scoop. He gets whatever
Oh
the,
my God.
it was unbelievable. And I said, oh my God, he might as well have opened his mouth and
And
talked.
said, over
Yeah.
here, lady.
Yes. So yes, that's what I tell people too. You are getting the information. So just trust yourself.
That's a great story.
Yeah. So in the for animal
Mhm.
communication, if people wanted to, because I know you have live classes and you have things that people can purchase online. Maybe they've taken another class somewhere else and they, want to, whatever, they want to learn more or get some more detail. So everything you have is on your website, correct?
Hmm.
Very easily found.
Hmm.
Right. Any instructions for anybody if is there, well, you have people that they can talk to if you're not available. On what's this program all about? What can I do? How does it
Yeah.
work?
Yeah. I have a lot of, yeah, they can reach out to Claudia, who
Mhm.
says hi, by the way.
Yeah.
Um, and yeah, we've got lots of ways for someone to find out more. And I was just thinking about it. If people are signing up for the animal communication class, I have now, and Kathy, this is something to think about. I have a little digital class that I made that's so easy. And I've been using that as a bonus so that people can communicate with an animal before they come into the class in case they're nervous about how well they'll do. And I go through all the instructions. It's like 20 minutes and you talk to Elsa, the puppy, who's now a year. So, Kathy, if you wanna, put that in as a bonus, I would love to get that to people because it really, really, really does kind of take the nerves off that first day.
Okay.
I will add to that too that through Circles of Wisdom, we do a practice just once a month. It's on the fourth Thursday of every month, 6:30 to 8:30. And people generally email in ahead of time. If we have time, can we read this horse, this cat, whoever? And then we practice together. So we have a little core group of people that have done it for quite a while. And then we have people drop in, somebody maybe who is a card reader, somebody who's a medium, somebody
Hmm.
who's not done anything but just really wants to lean into it. And so that's a really, nice couple of hours, low key way to get validation to see how do I do this kind of a thing. So
Yeah,
that would be awesome. Good.
yeah.
So let's talk about I feel like I'm gonna jump around here a little bit, but the link or the connection between, let's say, behavior issues and animal communication, right? If there's a behavior issue, where would a person start?
Um, I mean, I think they start with animal communication, but then, if it's something like reactivity, I always say, I love to do tapping and I would recommend that we do like 3 or 4 sessions, but I also need you to consider getting a dog trainer
Yep.
because you're gonna say that it's when it's something that big because, there could be lawsuits at stake, there could be injuries, serious injuries, just because an animal doesn't feel safe. And I'm all for, so it's like the person needs a different kind of training as well. And that's why I really believe, that's why I talk about you have to have that village.
Yes. Yes. And develop your own network of that.
Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
definitely.
But
So
I think animal communication though is so important because animals are great maskers. They're gonna adapt and they're gonna figure out a way to fit in so that their world doesn't change. And when they have something, whether it was a trauma or a physical issue or a memory that, they're just, I'm not going to let this dog come in my space before, all those things. If you know that to begin with through animal communication, number one, you're going to avoid setting up the dog for failure. And number two, you're going to go, probably more importantly, you're going to go out of your way to create safety. And that's all anyone really wants is safety.
Well, one of the things that you brought up, I remember, was something that I really took to heart, and that was not being so empathetically tied to whatever the animal story is, right? To not feel sorry, which is very difficult for
Yeah.
people that are trying to communicate with animals or anything, right? Because we are empathetic. So, can you just talk just a minute or two on that?
Yeah, I always say that when you have guilt and worry, it's an invitation for the dog to just take a shit on your desk. Um, it's like you've just created the most giant vortex on the planet, and then the dog, it's like a bad biofeedback loop, right? You're like, oh no, this poor dog. And then the person, or then the dog is like, oh, there must be something wrong with me.
Yes.
And they end up in this just bad loop. I always tell the story that I went to visit this woman and her horse. And when I got to the barn, she had to tell me all the things, right? I kept saying, okay, I'm going to get quiet now and communicate with your horse. And she'd be like, and another thing, and another thing. And then there were all these things that were wrong with the horse or wrong with the situation. And when at the end of I did the reading and some of what she said was accurate, but the horse had a different perspective. But what I said to her was, how long have you been married? And because I'd seen her husband a few minutes before, and she said, oh, I've been married 6 months. And I said, could you imagine if you went to a restaurant and met his friends and he introduced you as, hey, this is Julie. She's my new wife. I think she's going to behave tonight. She had a terrible upbringing. And she was really wild through college, but she's pretty good now, right? That's what we do
Right.
all day long. My rescue. Oh, my rescue. And when we do that, we're setting up that I'm up here and you're down here and you'll never make it here. You're always going to be less than when you keep calling someone a rescue or um and feeling sorry for them.
Right. Right. And there are certain behaviors that I find, and I'm sure you find that maybe they're I'll say quirks because I'm not talking about a dangerous like biting or aggression,
Right.
but there are certain quirks that maybe is just the animal. Just like we'd say, oh, that's so and so, she's like that, to a friend.
Yeah.
I love her anyway, but she's kind of quirky.
Yeah.
So some of those are just who the animal is, and it's
And they get to be that.
yeah, yeah. We love them for that, for everything,
Yeah.
the way that they love us. And yeah, but I really have found a link in doing EFT in particular with those feelings. With,
Yeah.
there always is a hook that I find somewhere of why they can't seem to get through whatever, not all of them, but the majority of them, why they can't seem to get through it because they're both emotions are hooked together. There is
Yeah.
that feeling of feeling sorry or, whatever the case is, the story.
And the story. And then when you're hooked into that story, on the one hand, you're the hero, but you're also frustrated.
Yes,
And then it's maddening. And oh well, he'll never get past it because he's a rescue.
the poor thing.
The poor thing.
Right, right. Yeah, I think that's so important. So I'm going to bounce just a little bit more, and then I would like to talk about when you're coming up, the different things that you're going to be doing. But I'm going to say, do you have the belief that animals come in with a specific purpose or a specific reason, meaning it's not random that you end up with this particular animal. Do you have that belief?
I do, but I think they have a purpose for themselves
Yes.
with nothing to do with us. And I feel like they end up in our household because they're family,
Yeah.
right? Like we're, just as um your your children aren't here for you, and their purpose coalesces with yours.
Right. An
Uh,
agreement or a,
yeah,
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 yeah.
yeah. I
Because
think
there are different schools of thought about how they come in and they teach us, and we have lessons, and I do think that maybe there is some of that because we're both evolving, but no,
well, I hope that we evolve, but
yeah,
that sort of thing sounds so, to me, so narcissistic and not allowing someone to be their own full being. Because as long as I'm viewing you as simply oh, you're doing this for me, then they can't have a relationship with the dog down the street. They can't, you know what I mean? Like, it just doesn't fit in our curriculum. Um,
right.
it's cuckoo, but that's just me. Because I'm all about, I create really big boundaries for my animals so they're always safe from coyotes, cars, things like that. But other than that, they're free to express themselves and be who they are and have their own relationships with others that has nothing to do with me. And yet I get to be the emotional leader of my beautiful, funny farm,
Yeah, your family. That's
my
exactly
family.
right. Yeah, absolutely. And so people ask me this a lot too. Do animals understand us when we talk to them? And
Because
it's,
we're automatically accidentally sending
I
pictures.
was going to say, because it's not the words, it's not always the words, right?
Yeah,
It is that.
well, when you have border collies, it's the words.
Yes, that's true.
When you
Um,
have a couple of different breeds of horses, they know some words. But yeah, I think cats pretend they don't know words. What?
right,
Hmm.
right. Yeah. I mean, people will ask that. I mean, an animal can read you, can read the room. You can come in and use all the words you want, but if you're not feeling it and you're sending a different picture, it is a mixed message, right? They don't know.
And that's what most people do by accident.
Right.
That's what we do until we're trained.
Yep. So what would you say the biggest, I don't want to say mistake, but if somebody's starting out who wants to learn animal communication, can you think of maybe a mistake? And I hate to say it in that way, but a mistake they might make
It's
in
more of a
starting.
misthought. I think it's that they think, oh, they can do it, but I can't.
Mm,
I think that's number one. They don't trust themselves, and so they start comparing themselves to other people in the class.
yep.
Going back to Ellie, who owns the General Barn and founded it. I remember there were two or three people, and Ellie went through the school, and there were two or three people that said, "Oh my God, the worst thing ever is that I'm going through the school, and Ellie is because she's so good." But they were very good also, but they see this other person just going blah blah blah. And it's like I would look at them and say, she founded one of the biggest farm sanctuaries in the world. I hope she can talk to animals.
Yeah, I know. It's funny. I found pictures like as I had been there in like 2013, and I was going through pictures not that long ago, and I had pictures from when I
Oh,
was
that's
there.
so
Yeah.
great.
Yeah. So yeah, I tell people the same thing. It isn't something that special people can do.
Right.
We can all do it. It does come down to um, opening yourself up and trusting yourself and taking a chance at, you're pretty vulnerable, right? When you when you're in a class, and that's just the way it is as you develop. But in the classes that you teach with people online, and there's a lot of practice in between that people do, you develop a really safe space or a nice relationship. When we're doing the circle once a month, and like I said, we have some core people that do, that's the first thing I say when somebody comes in is you can't judge yourself on anybody else. First of all, the
Because
big
they've been doing it forever. And
yes.
yeah, yeah,
And some people that are just new need to figure out how does my intuition work? Because my intuition may work different from your intuition. So I just need to know how it comes to me. I need to develop me. I don't need to be looking out. I think that is a mistake people.
yeah. I remember one woman accused me. She was like, this is, not a program for me because you are throwing everyone into the pool at the same time. I'm like, yeah, because all ships rise with the tide, right?
Yeah.
But she wanted some elite status, and I was like, well, then you're gonna have to go somewhere else.
Yeah. Yeah.
Mm.
Really. All right. So let's just take a look at what you're going to be doing at Circles, and that will bring up, really again the school. I just want people to know that they have options on different, whether they want to do everything or piece part, without. So the very first thing I think I want to bring up is the latest book, and I'm backwards here, but is Joan's book on animal chakra healing. So can you just tell us, I'm sure everybody knows, well, sure, I don't know, talk about chakras, the importance of chakras, just a general overview.
Yeah, so I always say it's the animal communicator's cheat sheet. It definitely, chakras are vortexes of energy that are placed in specific places throughout the body, and they each have a theme, if you will. And ironically, they also match up with the nerve plexuses in the body, and also um, a uh, a gland, if you will, from the endocrine system. So the nervous system and the endocrine system and the emotional body and the energetic body, I mean, the whole thing all works together on a good day. And when the whole system is feeling imbalanced, often you can pinpoint a chakra where, maybe this one needs some attention. So, for example, I always say that the third chakra is a great place to really understand that the emotional and energetic meets the physiological. So, if you have an animal with anxiety, you could help that animal a great deal by doing confidence building fun things and a good probiotic and a better diet. So, you could treat the emotion with the diet, you can treat the diet with the emotion. So, or the digestion. So it's a really important. So the book goes through a lot of those things, and everybody's an individual. So it isn't like a cutout map like, oh, if you've got this, you're going to be that. So we're still bringing individuals into play, but it does give you an idea of where to dig deeper.
Yeah. And the belief is with those energy centers, when everything is aligned, balanced, cleared, that the body heals itself,
Yeah,
right? Um,
totally.
and so when something is out of whack, being able to sort of pinpoint, like you said, whether it's emotional or physical, and helping to clear that is powerful.
Hmm.
So I thought the book was awesome, and it
Thank
looks
you.
like you are going to be doing that a healing celebration the first day that you're here at Circles,
Hmm.
right? We're going to be talking about the book, about balancing and clearing and how it all works. It's just a 2 hour in person or online. So those that aren't close to Circles and want to join, you'll have that option. That's on Thursday night. And then What's Your Animal's Problem, right, is on Friday, March 13th. And that's 6:30 to 8:30. And that is going to be like little mini readings and some EFT. Is that okay?
Yeah, and it is so powerful, that class. I've done it online. I've done it with kids. I didn't call it that. At like barns where they're all trying to show their ponies and literally took apart each of the kids' challenges, communicated with the animal, did the EFT, did a visualization. We end with a visualization, and it's like unbelievable. It's like coming out with a new vision for what
Yep.
you want.
Yep. I will say that, like I mentioned earlier, that is the class that I took with you at Circles before I joined your program.
Hmm.
And the very first session that I did after that workshop was somebody I worked with off and on for a couple of months who had brought two cats in separately, and one was a love and one not so much. And so they had a huge problem. The long and short of it is I could not believe how powerful that was, how it worked. We did probably four, maybe five sessions. And maybe a month later, she sent me a picture, and it was both two male cats, two big male, curled up in a bed together.
Oh,
It was unbelievable. And
yeah, I
so, I
love
mean,
that.
I have lots of stories you probably have lots more than I do, but lots of stories where it made a huge difference. Some like right at the time that you're doing it, we saw
Yeah,
a shift and a change. Even the shift with the person first saying, okay, I got this. I don't even feel as overwhelmed because I've been able to move some of the energy now.
that's the thing. Yeah.
It's unbelievable. I loved it. So I hope people can, and is that one in person? That one's in person. But you have stuff on YouTube, right? People can go and see your work, on
Hmm.
YouTube, as well. So, can you just tell us how you came in? I know you learned EFT, but can you tell the story about the first time that you used EFT at the
And
bar?
the horse?
Yeah.
Yeah. So I had learned EFT for me because I couldn't sleep after being a victim of a crime. So it was pretty huge. And the first night after I had done the EFT, I slept. And so I thought, I've got to learn this thing. And so I learned EFT because I didn't think about tapping on animals. I thought about how many people's nervous system affects their animals when their dog has been attacked or their dog is the attacker, and how they walk out on a leash and they freeze and all that. So I thought, if I can help the people with dog bites and can help the people who've had horse accidents, that's worth $1 million right there. So I go and I learn it, and I'd been doing it for quite a few years just on the people. And as a side note, in the 90s, I had gotten certified in acupressure. So I knew all the points. I knew, I mean, I knew that this was bladder one. I knew, and knew what they meant. Um, so I ended up I was living in Florida. It was 2004. So I've been tapping for about 2.5, 3 years at this point. And a friend of mine calls and says, um, I need you to get out here right now and talk to this horse. He's going after ponies. And I'm like, well, I can do this on the phone, Chris. And he was like, no, you need to come out now. He is going after ponies. And this horse had been a client of mine. He was a giant love bug. His name was Shakespeare. He was so handsome. He was like the perfect horse. You couldn't even imagine him doing anything out of step. He was always perfect. So and they had him at a horse show where he was out in the what's called the warm-up ring. So it's people going over jumps and warming up before they go into their class. Well, I was like, it can't be that bad. But I drive out, and all of a sudden, I see like he's got the jaws of death going after these ponies. I mean, I was traumatized, and I'm not even a pony. I was like, oh my God. So I was like, yikes, we got to get him out of here. So we took him way down in, like, we tried to get away from the crowd because I just had a feeling I was gonna tap. And I was like, we're gonna do something really weird that no one's gonna understand what we're doing. We don't need anybody to see us and judge us, and just let's go way down here. So we found an empty barn aisle, and when I wanted to start with the communication because I knew that the animal communication was gonna give me the script, what to say when I'm tapping on him. So when I communicated with him, I asked him just kind of tell me about ponies. And He said that when he was young, he said he hated ponies because when he was young, he was weaned early, which I think everybody thinks they're weaned early. So I don't know if he was or not, but he wanted to be with mommy and he got thrown into a field with ponies and the ponies picked on him. And even when he got bigger and bigger and bigger, he he still didn't take his power, right? Like he still let them go after him. So he eventually he was never around ponies in any situation because he was everybody that ever had him found out pretty quickly what he would do. So I started tapping on just I hate ponies and I went through each of the I just figured what are the same points as people? And I just kind of made it up and then really did this whole like I hate ponies, and ponies are mean, and just went through this whole thing until finally got to a forgiveness. And then once we got to the forgiveness, it's like, yes, I can go back out there. And so now um, we go back out into the arena, and he's definitely looking at them like I don't know, but his hackles weren't up and he wasn't scary. He was just we could see his fear a little more, and then we could get him through the crowd. He went through the whole horse show and did fine. Then the next month he was stabled across a barn aisle from a pony, and then in the end he was retired out into a field next to a pony, and they were seen constantly grooming each other over the fence. So just one tapping session changed that horse's trajectory with ponies.
Yeah, it's unbelievable. I've done a lot of tapping in the last since 2.5, 3 years, whatever it was that you were there, and there hasn't been any that haven't moved in some direction. So
Yeah.
awesome, awesome. So EFT will be on the second day, and then you're going to actually be doing a full day class in person. And that's on balancing chakra and the healing work. So that's a whole 10 to 5.
And it is so fun.
It really, yeah. So tell me, like, how should people dress? What should people be doing? Is there anything special that you want anybody who's going to be signing up to know?
I mean, I think we're gonna definitely l look at everybody's animals. So bring a picture, or I know Kathy lets a few animals in. Um, but yeah, I think you might, it's meditative at times. It's a lot of information. So dress comfortably, and if you need to move around, you might take notes. But I've got good handouts, and there's the book is pretty thorough. So we'll go through, but just know that all the organs are listed here, all the whole thing. We're just really going to go over it and deepen it and just kind of get it into our DNA.
So I ordered mine on Amazon. And would you suggest that people do that ahead of time, take a look through the book ahead of time? It would be
Or if they sign
helpful.
up, maybe Kathy could also order through
Yeah,
Kathy, and
yeah.
then
So maybe if they tell you when they sign up, maybe send a note or whatever that they'd like to buy a book, just so you know, so you don't run.
Yeah,
Yeah.
we'll have plenty of copies.
Okay.
Yeah. And
Okay,
people can
great.
buy it online and pick it up in store, or they can have it shipped in advance if they want.
Okay. Excellent.
yeah.
And then on Sunday, 10 to 5 is animal communication, and that's a sort of a playful, I mean, that's how you learn animal communication, right? You want to be in that space of play,
Mhm.
of raising the vibration. So that's a full day of games and learning and
And
networking.
yeah.
Yeah.
And
Okay.
it will, in the course of the day, usually we communicate, we have some games, but we also will likely communicate with 2 to 3 animals at least. So bring pictures of your own animals.
Okay. Okay. So, every
Kathy wanted me to mention quickly about wildlife trips.
oh yes, yes, yes. Okay.
And maybe you and Kathy need to come on a trip.
I would
Anyway,
I
love to
would
do
love
that.
to
Oh, I would too. I
someday.
see the animal with the elephants and the lions. Oh my God. Yeah. Yeah, tell us about those.
so they're more of a what I call a connecting, and it so it, I started with dolphin trips. I did about 8 years of dolphin trips from 2010 until well, I just did one last year till 2000, like right before the pandemic, maybe a year before the pandemic. I started then in 2016 going to Africa. I took people to the White Lions. I took people to um, Kenya. So I've been to Kenya, Zimbabwe, Zambia, Namibia, South Africa, Botswana, Uganda, Rwanda, and then Borneo for orangutans, India for tigers, and I know there's somewhere else. And I'm starting to do with a gal who teaches a whale wisdom class, starting to do something. We're gonna do an orca trip in the Pacific Northwest in September, where we're not swimming with the orcas, but we're gonna be with the pods there, which are the residential pods. It's a very spiritual experience. I can't say enough about it. And then October, we're taking people to the humpback whales in Moorea, French Polynesia, to
Oh,
swim with the humpbacks. Yeah, there's a trip.
yeah. Absolutely. And so all of that information is on the website, and
Yeah,
you have a mail list that people can
I have a
sign up.
private even travel mailing list. So if you want to be alerted before I tell people, like I have a trip in September to the elephants of Tula Tula, and that's sold out before I even announced it publicly.
Okay. Yeah, that definitely.
So Kathy and Ginger need to get
Yeah.
on that list.
Yes.
That would be fun. And Kathy just got back, right? You just had a trip recently.
Yes, I went to Peru. Yeah.
Yeah, nice.
Yeah,
I would love to go on one of your trips,
Oh,
Joan.
I would too. We'll definitely have to look at
On my
that.
wish list. Yeah.
And
yeah,
so, can we talk briefly too about animals in transition? We just sort of touched that, but can you talk about that?
yeah. I mean, weirdly, it's one of my, I don't know. I mean, it's so hard to say it's one of my favorite things. I love all of it, but it's got a tender place because it, loss is inevitable when you love something that much, and when they are family, right? So it's being able to be there for somebody at the end is so honoring, even though you're looking at them kind of wishing that it had gone a different direction, like why can't they still be alive or why? But at the same time, this is what's happening, and being able to be in that with grace is just so amazing.
Mm. And so that program, is that how is the class set up, or how is the,
We have so it's kind of like a little graduate or its own little thing. Um, so you do have to learn the animal communication, the medical intuition, because a lot of times people say, "How did my dog die? I don't even know. I just woke up and they were dead." Um, so so you learn all the things and even the behavior and dynamics because um, tuning into an animal, when people have regrets or questions, it's like, why did my dog do this thing? So it's all the normal, they have to learn all the normal things that you would just in the general animal communication variety and a little bit of the energy healing because in many ways you're like a midwife, and as you're a midwife in this process, you want to be able to offer your clients like help in the transition. And the
Mhm.
transition also includes, leading up to that, the big finale, if you will. But also then there's a transition in the household of the other animals, helping them create a new normal and maybe helping somebody with grief. And maybe one of the animals is kind of trapped in grief and won't accept a new animal that comes in, just all those things. So being able to offer people a full package is what we're training people to do.
Good, because I know that the dynamic in the house shifts. I've actually had animals say, do I need to be something different or do I, I feel like I need to, I'm not dominant, but the one that just left is dominant. There's some anxiety,
Right.
about
Yes,
it. So
yeah.
yeah, very helpful.
Especially, yeah, those animals that the loss of being identifying with like I can be this because you're that. When
Exactly.
that goes away, it's like, what am I supposed to do now?
Right. Right. So I love that. I think that's awesome. Is that similar to what some people talk about a death doula? Is that
Yeah,
similar? Okay. Okay.
yeah,
Yeah, I think that's so important. And there are a lot of people. We just did a grief circle not that long ago for people to be able to express it because I'm sure everybody on this call can identify that not everybody feels about animals the same way that we do. And so when we have a loss, sometimes there are people that are around us that, might be annoyed or exasperated, like, okay, your cat passed, get another cat. Like they don't
right.
understand the grief that's there.
And then another aspect that comes into it is um even like if I came to my friend's house and I saw her cat every time he was there, and then he dies, and I make it about my grief rather than honoring my friend's grief, it's like it's not always safe to grieve.
Right. Right. I know I did find that when I was a pet sitter. I might meet the family one time and then I could 10, 12 years take care of an animal and then the animal passes. And you express your condolences to that person, but they're your friend too. You've
Yeah,
had a decade or more,
yeah,
relationship with them. Yeah, it is. Um, and you don't want grief to get stuck somewhere because it never goes away and it turns up in places we don't want it to turn up
I
in.
know. And
Oh,
that's another thing about the training, that and the energy healing. It's like when we work toward moving through our own stuff, then we are even more available to be hold space for someone else versus making your situation about me.
right. Right. And I did find that, even starting the journey and people that have worked with me that have started their journeys, let's say, um, and all of a sudden something that comes up to them that is kind of shocking. Like I thought I dealt with that when I was 22
Right.
and it comes up and it's right in your face and you need to do that, but it is part of clearing out the work so you are available to those
Yeah.
that need you. Look at her.
My little Penelope, my
Oh,
lap
she's
dog.
so cute. Okay, so is there anything that you can think of that we did not cover that you would like to cover? Um, Anything, Kat,
Yeah.
that you can think of that we didn't cover?
Um, I just wanted to mention for people that are thinking of coming in person, I did give the links in the Zoom invitation for all the classes.
Yep.
And there is a good early bird discount for the two full day classes on Saturday and Sunday, which ends on March 1st. So,
And Kathy, we should definitely put in, I'm happy to get you the little, or you just email me their name and we'll gift them it's called Animal Communication Made Simple, because it
all right.
really helps people that are nervous. We also, another little bonus I could send out would be tapping on doubts so they could be like, I don't think I can do this. I can't do
Oh,
this.
that would be great.
Yeah,
So,
so,
Joan, when I did your class, the following weekend, I think, or maybe a couple of weekends after, I was asked to come into this like a high-end dog salon in Boston, and I was doing readings for their employees. And there was a big demonstration right near there, right near the Boston Common. And so we were stuck and I was trying to, get there. My husband was driving and I was really stressed and everybody's honking and trying to get through. And I look over and there's a young girl and she's driving like this. Oh, she's tapping. And I said, oh, I didn't even think of that. I should be doing that
Yeah,
too. So
I've been seen in my car
yeah,
tapping.
yeah. It honestly, I just can't express how much of a difference that can make as
Yeah,
well.
it's huge.
So um we have people that are starting to jump off, I think. I just want
Yeah,
to make sure there
we're going a
any.
little bit late, but I
Oh,
also
okay. I'm
Penelope
sorry.
must know it's time.
I thought it
And
was
I
till
actually
8:30.
is trying to get out of the office. But also
Okay.
Bob reminded me that I should just say if there's anybody coming from out of town, we do have a discount rate at a hotel nearby. And they can always email us and get the rate. Or even if they're, if they just want to make it a weekend and stay overnight close by, we have a
Hmm.
discount rate that we can email them.
Yeah, I hope we see everybody who was on here because we don't often have Joan come, right? It's
No, and it's so
a big
fun.
Yeah,
deal to
it
have you.
is. It's a treat to get her here in person. Yes.
It is.
Well, it's a
So
treat for me to come hang out with you. So I
yeah,
want to make it like we used to come every June again.
Yes, and start going to the farm again and things like that.
Yeah,
Yes. Yeah, that would be great. People always love that.
so I will
yeah.
come and be a second set of hands for whatever you need.
I would love that.
I'd
I
love to
Mhm.
can't
see
wait.
you. And if anybody has questions, please reach out to either Joan, right, on go to Joan's website or to Circles of Wisdom about these events. And we can answer any questions that you might have. And I want to say thank you for everybody who hopped on today. And I hope we do see you in March.
Yeah, me
Yep.
too.
Yep. Thank you so much.
Thank
Thank you.
you.
Thank
Great.
you.
See you soon.
Thank you.
Bye.
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 Okay. So Joan, if you need anything from me ahead of time, I blocked the whole weekend, so whatever you need, I'd love to
Yeah, I
come
would
and help
love to
you.
hang out. That'll be really
Okay,
fun.
perfect.
Yeah.
Kathy, anything? You're on mute.
Wait, you're muted.
Bob needs to end the recording
Oh, okay.
and we'll share the recording.
Okay.